Again, a sincere welcome to all those who may be here for the first time, just visiting, and welcome back to those for whom it might have been a while since you've been here or in any church for Mass. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are happy you're here. I am happy you're here. And most importantly, the Lord is the happiest that you're here because He is the one. Right? He is the one that desires you, desires your heart most. So welcome home. For this homily, in light of it being Welcome Home Sunday, I kind of felt moved to build on that a little bit in different ways. Excuse me. And so I wanted to start with this question that I'm just inviting each person here to pay attention to what comes to mind as I ask this question. Pay attention to what comes to mind for you personally. What comes to mind when I say the word home? What comes to mind when I say the word home? For me, what came to mind was mostly pleasant. It brought me back to my younger years, and my home life wasn't perfect by any means. My parents divorced when I was 5 years old. We moved into separate homes away from our original home where it was my dad, my mom, and me and my two older brothers. We moved away from there, moved into separate homes. My parents got remarried, so I grew up in a blended family. And so home, at times, was a very complicated reality. Though, like I said, I can still look back on those younger years, and it's mostly fond memories, mostly fond. But unfortunately, because we live in a fallen world, what came to mind for many of us, maybe most of us, might not have been all that pleasant. Like, in fact, I would say it this way, for some of us, thinking of home, our homes can almost be hellish, to put it as starkly as possible. Like, we might dread going home every day because experience has shown us time and time again that things aren't great at home. And I think another unfortunate reality is that the church, which we are welcoming people home to in a particular way throughout the Archdiocese at the request of Archbishop Cecchio, our church, our Universal Catholic Church, our local St. Andrew Catholic Church, the church can have that same feel sometimes. Like, things aren't always great, to say the least. And that's because none of us is perfect. None of us is perfect. And the only true experience, the only true perfect experience of church that we can experience in an ongoing way, with no threat of scandal, no threat of strife, no threat of suffering, that's in the next life. That's where our hope lies. With that said, as dismal and maybe discouraging as that might sound, that does not mean we are helpless and hopeless now. Like, in fact, for us to continue to retain our hope, to hold on to the hope that such an experience of communion with one another and with the Lord is real, that it is possible. The Lord is constantly pouring out His grace, offering us the grace to live this out now, to get taste of it here and now. And as I was reflecting on that, in light of it being Welcome Home Sunday, I truly think welcome is an essential ingredient in living this out. Openness to the other. A desire to share the good news of the gospel with others, which means we must first have received it as good news ourselves. Unless the gospel has penetrated our hearts, unless we actually see it as good news, very unlikely that we're going to desire to share it with others and build community, build the communal aspect of the church. It's not easy, right? It's not easy to do this. And I think we might have to endure some of the same sort of harsh language that this Canaanite woman had to endure from Jesus. We might have to endure that from some of our very own church members. I think this is precisely one of the many reasons this interaction is recorded for us in the Gospels. Just for a little bit of context, the Canaanites, they were mostly considered to be pagans, meaning it would have been assumed that this woman worshipped either multiple gods or something in nature, but it would not have been assumed that she worshipped the one true God like the Jewish people. That might be one of the reasons Jesus' disciples were saying, send her away. She's not like us. She doesn't know that there's only one true God. Send her away. And through this interaction, she reveals something incredible, remarkable, that despite her upbringing, despite her suffering, despite the suffering her daughter was enduring, despite her home life, despite the prejudices levied against her, she had allowed herself to be led and to seek after the one who you and I, who each of us are called to be led to and to seek after. She allowed herself to encounter Jesus. There are ways that to give even more of an explanation of why Jesus may have spoken to the woman in this way, but I think ultimately, just looking at the text, his motive gets revealed very clearly when he praises her for the greatness of her faith. Even though that's true, right, I want to gloss over the fact that following Jesus, seeking to grow in relationship with him, can be almost exactly like this interaction sometimes. Like, it is not always pleasant. It can sting. We will come up against obstacles, and sometimes it won't really feel like anything, like he's not answering us. Just nothingness, blah. But the Lord's motive stays the same. I think that's one of the things he is trying to communicate very clearly in today's gospel. He wants our faith, your faith, my faith, to be in him, to be great. And as frustrating as it can be, as truly frustrating as it can be, as almost soul-crushing as it can feel, trials and suffering, seeming nothingness in prayer, dryness in prayer, all of these things can be occasions where our faith becomes even more battle-tested, even more secure. It becomes deeper. It becomes greater. In this particular gospel passage, adding to all that, in dramatic fashion, Jesus, his actions and his final words, they revealed that his initial words didn't reveal the whole truth about his mission of salvation, the whole reason for which he was sent into the world. I'll add to that, right? If we compare the way this interaction ends with our first reading, then this seems to be another instance where Jesus is implicitly revealing his divinity. Like, his house is a prayer for all peoples. Every word this woman utters is a prayer, because whether she recognizes it or not, she is speaking to God. And he reveals through her persistence, her perseverance, that the invitation to faith in him is open to every single person. Great is her faith. Great is her faith in Jesus and what he is capable of. And she begs the question for us: do you and I have the same sort of faith in him? That's something to ponder in prayer this week. Do you have the same sort of faith in Jesus that this woman had? What he's capable of? And where might you need the Lord to speak to your heart to help stir that faith up, to increase your faith right there? In reference to the gospel passage, all of this is kind of contained in our readings for today. There is a unique way that the Jewish people in particular, they were meant to be prepared to receive this good news about faith in Jesus first. And through them, it was meant to be proclaimed to the world. Eventually, the apostles got the message, right? But St. Paul makes this clear in a beautiful way in that second reading, that even their rejection God used for good. Their rejection was the reconciliation of the world, the offer of reconciliation. How much more so if they said yes to him, would there be life from the dead? The same is still true now, in a sense, for the Jewish people, and the same is still true now for each of us, like for me and for you. Jesus is the reason we're here. And the church is meant to be our home on earth, preparing us, helping us to believe that we truly have a heavenly home in our future. But in order to believe that, in order to continue desiring that, my experience has been, my experience having this conversation with many others, listening to many others explain and share how the Lord has entered their lives, is that it first has to become personal before it becomes communal. for you to desire to live in community with others, seeking the Lord, you have to seek the Lord. You have to allow him into your heart first. So again, more questions to reflect on. Will I let the Lord live within me? Will I let the Lord create a home for himself in my heart? Just building on that, if you remember anything from this homily, let it be this. As I was writing those questions, a very common cliche came to mind that kind of touches on that truth and has some truth in it itself. Home is where the heart is. Home is where the heart is. And the incredible truth to add to that is that Jesus desires your heart to be united with his within you, so that you might joyfully abandon yourself to his heart when he calls you from this life to himself. If we let the Lord have his way with us, within us, if we cooperate with his grace, then there's no obstacle that can truly threaten to undermine our faith in him and what he's capable of. Nothing can truly undermine our faith in his desire for us to be with him forever. That is our true home. And it is where any negative experience that we've had of home in this life will be healed, it will be redeemed by his love. And the incredible thing is a taste of that reality is offered to us in a real way in just a few moments and in every single Mass. God himself present in the Eucharist. And so we ask him for the grace, the profound grace, that our hearts might be ready, prepared, open to receive so great a gift. The love of God, God himself, offered to you.